Laws meant to punish. In 1774, the British government passed several laws that were meant to punish the colonists: the Intolerable Acts and the New England Restraining Act. The colonists could not use smuggling and boycotting to get around these laws. These laws caused great economic problems for the colonists. The British government was very angry at the colonists, especially those in Boston, Massachusetts. To punish Massachusetts and to set an example to the other colonists, the British government passed the Coercive Acts and the Quebec Act. Coerce means to force someone to do something. The Coercive Acts. The Coercive Acts did three major things. First, they closed down the port of Boston until the Massachusetts legislature paid for the tea destroyed during the Boston Tea Party. Second, they decreased the control that the colonists had to govern themselves in Massachusetts. Third, the Coercive Acts allowed the British Army to require the colonists to rent rooms to British troops, who would then be quartered or housed in private rooms rather than in tents or barracks. The Quebec Act. The Quebec Act, among other things, strengthened an act passed in 1763 after Pontiac's Rebellion to keep the colonists out of the Ohio Valley. The Quebec Act declared that the land between the Ohio River and the Missouri River, part of which several colonies had claimed, was now part of Canada. The Coercive Acts and the Quebec Act led to immediate angry responses by the colonists, who lumped them together in what they called the Intolerable Acts. Intolerable means unbearable, because the laws to punish took away the colonial right to self-government and also took away the colonists' ability to get food. The colonists thought that the Coercive Acts and the Quebec Acts were intolerable. Colonial reaction to the Intolerable Acts. The radicals did not want the Boston colonists to give in to the Intolerable Acts and pay for the tea, so the committees of correspondence led by Samuel Adams of Boston got people from all over the 13 colonies to work together and send food to help the colonists in Boston. They got colonists in South Carolina to send rice, colonists in Virginia to send corn, colonists in Pennsylvania to send flour, and colonists in Connecticut to send sheep. The effect of that cooperation was the people of Boston did not have to pay for the destroyed tea. Another and more important effect was that the 13 colonies were beginning to think of themselves as being united against a common enemy, Britain. The New England Restraining Act. To further punish the New England colonies, Parliament passed the New England Restraining Act. The New England Restraining Act did two things. First, it started enforcing the Navigation Act's ban on trade with another nation other than Britain or British colonies. The trade ban economically punished the New England colonies because it decreased their trade with other countries. The second thing that the New England Restraining Act did was limit the fishing area of the colonies. Because many New England colonists made their living by fishing, the New England Restraining Act hurt the colonists economically. Remember, fish was one of the main natural resources the New England colonies exported. The British and colonial cycle of escalation. This figure summarizes a cycle of escalation in which the British government made laws to gain wealth and colonies tried to get around them. Escalation means to keep increasing. In the cycle, Britain increased its laws to gain wealth, and the colonists increased their efforts to avoid the laws. As you see in this figure, think about how all the laws you read about fit into it. After the French and Indian War and Pontiac's War, Britain was in debt. Britain's problem was that it needed to get more money. Britain's solution was to pass revenue-generating laws such as the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, and the Townshend Acts. The British solution of passing revenue-generating laws to get the 13 colonies to help pay off the French and Indian War debt became a colonial problem. The colonial solution was to look for ways to get around the new taxes. The colonial effect was that the more successful the colonists were at getting around the British laws, the less money the British government collected. The colonists' effects caused a new British problem. The less money the British government collected, the more new laws they had to pass to try to get money or save money. The cycle of passing laws, and colonists looking for ways to get around them continued until the colonists' ability to get around the British laws became too serious a problem for the British government. Then the British government stopped the cycle of escalation by the passage of laws that were meant to punish the 13 colonies. The 13 colonies could not get around the Intolerable Acts or the New England Restraining Act.